How's it going? How are you doing?
Good. I like your poppy.
Thank you. Thank you. It is November 11th. Well, I mean, the time we released this video anyways,
Yeah.
which is Remembrance Day. So I guess before we start, I think it's a good thing to just say that it's important, I think, to remember exactly what has happened. Not even just the world wars, but any other major conflict or fighting. I mean, where people are dying and losing their lives, and especially fighting for
our
freedoms. And it's something that I can't even imagine being put in that position. And so grateful that other people have gone and done it, because again, I don't even know how I could even imagine doing something like that. So it's important to remember. And
I think especially like both of my grandfathers fought in the war. So it's always been like a really important day for me.
Yep.
Because that's a pretty big sacrifice. Like I'm sure they both had PTSD and, you know, everything that they did and went through.
Yep.
The only reason I don't have my poppy is because we just were saying we always lose them. Something always happens.
Fall off or what
and
have
that's
you,
the only one that we had in the house.
Yeah.
So we have to get some more.
We'll get some more. Yeah. And we homeschool our kids, so we're a little bit out of the school system and have been for quite a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they teach kids anymore, but I don't know if I feel like it's not being taught enough. But if you're not getting enough history at school, then hit the library and do some reading and just look up on it, because it's unfortunate. I feel like history can teach us a lot of lessons, but unfortunately people's memories run short, and then you get through these patterns. It's like human civilization and society. We have these patterns of 85 years of having these major conflicts, and it's
even like I was telling you, I read this article somewhere and it said, well, actually didn't read the article, sorry, it was just the headline, but it said something.
Oh no, a headline. Here we go.
It said something like 60% of millennials don't know about the Holocaust, which I find hard to believe, because that's like the main thing they teach you about World War II, but apparently they don't anymore. I don't know. And I don't ever remember learning about World War II in history in school.
Like that was like our biggest thing in our grade 11 history class. I think it really depends on the teacher.
It does, 100%.
And our teacher I think he was an actual historian.
So that helps.
So he has vested interest. And we did a lot of stuff on learning about both world wars. And the stuff that people, I mean, it's fascinating to learn about and to read about, but like to think that people actually did these things, and it's just insane. So if just learn history can teach so much, and it puts things into perspective.
It does.
Where you have people literally fighting for freedoms and making sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, watching their brothers in arms die right beside them and losing their own lives. And, you know, when you get to life and you're thinking, you know, oh, well, McDonald's is making me fat or whatever. It's like, your problems are not that big.
Are so small.
You can solve these problems pretty big. You know, you want to talk about actual injustices, you know, and stuff that people had to go through, and what real oppression and
segregation,
all that stuff. Look at the slave trade for hundreds of years. Look at the Holocaust, right? Look at the genocides that have happened. Like that's real oppression. That's real hatred, bigotry,
that's
whatever you want to call it. Real racism, real
victims.
Yeah, exactly. Not the
poor me.
Yeah, someone called me obese or whatever, and you know it's like just like what we're saying. I mean, just call it what it is, and it is. It's not to shame, not to whatever, but this is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you want real discrimination.
Yeah.
Well, you don't.
You don't.
Like, you know, and if someone, this is, I mean, we're starting out a little off, but that's okay. But like I've experienced actual racism, you know, and like, you know it when you see it, right? It's not someone telling you something that makes you kind of feel bad or whatever. It's somebody who is literally going out of their way to make you feel less than human, you know, and you know, right? So
I can't even imagine,
you know, but then, but it goes both ways, right? There's a lot of people are racist to just other races, you know.
It's not just white on black.
There's people are so I mean, there's a thing distinguishing between real discrimination and perceived
hurt feelings,
and
absolutely.
and I guess maybe why I'm talking about the get educated and learn about history. It's like, learn history to know what real discrimination is like. And then maybe you'll put things as a context of like, yeah, my problems aren't that bad. Or maybe it's internal. I need to look at myself to change myself.
Absolutely.
And part of that process of looking internal and changing yourself has to do with, I know me specifically and us, but more specifically for me, coming in at 210 pounds when we started this journey.
Yeah.
And about a little over 160 now, 162 or whatever, fluctuates.
Yeah.
Is looking internally as to why I let myself get so big and why I did get obese and why I gained all that extra weight, and figuring out internally what I can do to fix it.
Yep.
And one of the main tools, which we've talked about plenty, which we'll talk about again today, maybe in a little bit more detail, is the main tool that I used and that you used to lose fat, and that's fasting.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today is fasting. Why we've done it, why it works, the mechanisms of how it actually causes you to lose fat. And
I think the other thing too is like at work, people obviously were noticing you losing weight, and you started to talk a little bit about what you were doing, fasting, and people had like a lot of questions, and I thought it would be a good topic to kind of talk about and like kind of put all those questions on the table and answer them.
And I don't know, just what it is and what it does and whether it can work for you. I'm always a huge proponent. Like if you have a lot of weight to lose, I'm like, fasting, away you go. But is it for everyone? I don't know.
I feel like it is.
It is in terms of that it would work, but it's not for, I don't think everyone can do this. And I know by a lot of the comments that I have been getting, there is a hesitation, and there is well, can't live that way, or it's not,
you're
almost like it's not healthy.
Yourself.
So
but I think it's
fine.
But I think it's just, but once you understand the mechanism behind it, and once you understand the science and like how to implement it, it's not extreme. And I think that's what people think. It's like, oh, it's so extreme, you're starving yourself, you're anorexic. It's like, no, it's not an eating disorder. It's
exactly. And
it's a method.
And at the bottom line is, when you want to think about fasting, it's not a diet. It's not it has nothing to do with what you're eating. It's all about thinking about when you eat and having a certain time window or whatever it is of when you're actually going to be ingesting food and when you're going to be refeeding or whatever, right? So when you think about fasting, it's not a diet per se. Like if you're fasting, you could still be a vegan. You can still be a carnivore. You can still be whatever the hell you could still eat junk food. It doesn't matter. You could still fast and have a wide range of quote unquote diets, but it's just a tool to use to figure out when to eat.
And I think like that's the big thing. And like that's what makes it so simple, is that it does not involve calorie restriction. And like, I feel like we can't overstate that. You do not restrict your calories when you're fasting. The whole point of fasting is you need to eat the amount of calories to maintain your body function. So everybody has their like basic metabolic rate that you have to ingest that amount of calories just to live, just to breathe. If you laid in bed, you would still
not every day though too, right? Because obviously people fast for more than one day, right? But there's an average.
But that's not the point I'm getting at.
Okay.
Everybody has this basal metabolic rate that they have the calories you need to eat every day just to live,
and
right?
And so hear for a normal adult is like 2,000 calories a day. Just to put that into.
So, but the whole point is like, if you're fasting and when you break your fast, you're not eating less than that. You're eating that. You need to eat that. Otherwise, then that's what happens is your metabolic rate will fall.
And we'll get into that in a little bit. So how about we back up a little bit and go from the actual start about fasting and the science behind what it actually does in your body. So we've talked. We've done a whole podcast on insulin. But do you want to start by giving an overview of what fasting actually does to the body?
So when you eat anything, not so much fat. So let's just talk about protein and carbs. So when you eat protein and carbs, your body breaks it down. Eventually it goes into glucose. And so that signals your pancreas to release insulin. And insulin, like I've said before, it's like a traffic cop. And so insulin ushers the glucose into your cells. It opens up the door to the cells and puts the glucose in. Once your cells are full, then the traffic cop says, okay, cells are full, then we're going to store this energy as fat, or as first it goes to glycogen in your liver, and you have a set amount of glycogen that can be stored in the liver.
Everything has a capacity. Your cells have a capacity, and your liver has a certain capacity.
So then once that glycogen store is full, and if there's still sugar left over, then that gets turned into fat.
Yep.
And so that's storage. So insulin's job is to get glucose into the cells so you can use it for energy, and then to store it as fat. And evolutionarily, like that's important. We need to like think about animals that hibernate. Like they need to be able to store it some way, and so did we back in the day.
Yep.
So that's what happens. So if you're eating all the time, and even if you are reducing your calories and you're eating like they say, eat like 4 times, 5 times a day, eat every 2 to 3 hours.
Sure.
Your insulin is going to be
You're always going to
be
it's always going to be
really high.
It's always going to be present in your blood.
Yeah.
So and a question from there is, how long does it take for insulin to get out of your body and get out of your bloodstream, and how long does it take for your body to deplete of all the stored sugar and glycogen?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I don't really know. It's a question I don't really know.
So, but I think maybe in generally we could say 24 hours. I mean, in terms of depleting your glycogen and glucose, 24, 48 hours or so, something.
But then this is the other thing too, right? Because then you have to look at, are you working out? Because when you work out, that's going to deplete that as well.
Of course. So I'm just to give people an idea. It's like, sure, we don't have the exact numbers, and it depends on when you're working out, but 24 hours to 48 hours.
But I think like you don't have to fast for that long to see
the benefits.
Yeah. Because I know like for me, like I was doing like fasting 16 hours and having an 8-hour eating window, and I still lost fat even though, right?
Okay. Well, so the reason why I wanted to say that is because, so we talked about you ingest food.
Yep.
You spike your insulin, or insulin comes in, and then you take that energy, or you take that food, break it down, and store it basically into glucose.
Use it or store it.
Yeah. So the reason I mentioned that is like how long does it take your body to get rid of that is because I want to talk about what happens after you stop eating with that insulin. Then what changes physiology happen to your body in order of how it uses energy.
So then the other thing with, I guess then the kind of like the backward way is, so when you're dieting, and like I said, if you're eating all of these
just lots of meals
a day, your insulin's always high. And so you will lose weight by restricting your calories. That'll happen, but you're not going to be losing the fat necessarily, because insulin, the traffic cop, is not going to let you get in and get that fat.
Yeah.
As long as insulin's around, you're not getting to that fat.
So what you're saying is, as long as you have insulin in your bloodstream, your body cannot turn to its fat storages to actually burn that fat as energy.
Yeah. So
to break it down into.
So you're not going to lose that fat. So say you're restricting calories, you lose a little bit of weight, but then you're like, you kind of hit a plateau. And you're like, I'm not losing. I got to restrict my calories even more. I got to work out even more. Again, you're going to hit a plateau, because what's happening is your insulin's always high, and your body's using up all the sugar that you eat, or all the glucose that you are eating. It uses up that in the cells, but it still needs more energy to carry out its functions, right?
And because your energy, or because your insulin is so high,
you can't get at the fat for energy.
And then you feel so hungry.
So, well, just wait.
Okay.
Because what happens is then the big thing happens is your body's like, whoa, we got to keep you alive. We're not getting any energy coming in. We can't get to that fat. So we're just going to slow down the metabolic rate. And what happens is you start to feel sluggish, and you start to feel very cold. You get cold because your body's ramping down to keep you alive, to not use as much energy because it doesn't have access to as much, right? So that happens. And then what happens is it releases a hormone called ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, which makes you hungry. So it's like, I can't, they keep restricting the calories. I'm not getting enough energy just by eating.
Then you're not losing weight too. At a certain point, you start to plateau.
Yeah, but it's your body's just trying to survive. I'm not getting enough energy through food. I can't get to the fat. I'm like lowering the metabolic rate. I need to get my person to eat. And so that's where the ghrelin comes in, and it spikes it, and you get hungry, and you're just like, you feel defeated, right?
Yeah,
because
you have so many things going against you. And then when inevitably whatever type of calorie restriction diet you're on, or whatever fails, which it will, then you feel stupid, or then you're to blame. It's like, oh, well, you just didn't have the willpower. It's like, no, everything physiologically what's happening in your body is moving you towards this survival mode of having to eat, and you can't fight that. Like you can't fight against your hormone. Like it's like it's impossible, and it fails. And we talked about this before about The Biggest Loser. That's why like every single one of them gain the weight back. It's because they go on these crazy crash diets where their metabolism slows by like half.
Yep.
And
it stays down for a long time, like years.
It takes a long time to recover,
it takes a long time to
ramp it back up.
Yeah.
And when your metabolism is so low, the reason why you gain a lot of weight back and then even then some is because when you'll start to go back and eating, say how you were, but then you'll gain weight twice as fast because your metabolism is so low. So then your body's used to not getting that much glucose.
Yeah.
So then when you get all that glucose in, it's like, oh shit, what do I do with it? I just store it. So you're storing fat at like twice the rate that you were when you were before you started whatever calorie restriction. So you end up gaining weight and then some. And honestly, I've seen this happen even to me firsthand. Like I start a fitness thing, I'd be like 180 pounds. Like, okay, I got to lose weight, go down to 160 and then crash or whatever, something would happen. It's like, oh, and you start eating again, and then it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm 190.
Yeah.
And I'll try it again.
It's exactly what happened.
165 again. It's like, all right. And then something happens, boom, go up to 200, 210. And it's like, it's this cycle. And so I know I looked at myself. I'm like, what can I do differently? Because clearly this trying to like eat
not
less
working.
meals a day, like, wake up for breakfast, have a piece of toast, we'll work out. Okay. Then have a little, have some orange juice or some juicing. Like still eating healthy stuff.
Yeah. But
constantly eating and keeping that insulin high. And I had no idea even back then. I didn't even know that was a thing to even consider.
Well, me neither. That's why it's just so awesome.
That's the mechanism of fasting. It's a way to control how your body
because then this is the point. This is the point then, right? Is so then if you start implementing fasting into your world, then there's no insulin around.
Yep.
There's no insulin around. So then it can go after the juicy fat and get rid of it.
That's why, people that if you ever hear people losing like, 50 pounds, 60, 70 pounds in like a month or whatever, because they're like not eating, that's what they do. It's like they're fasting because they become fat burning machines.
Yep.
It's insane.
It's your body's own liposuction. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. And if you could just get your body used to using that kind of energy, like you'll burn so much fat. It is incredible.
Yeah.
And it, I will say, like, I think it takes time to get to that point. Like, I mean, I've tried longer fast or whatever, and then you start to feel really bad. So you have to be careful, right? Like if you're fasting, it's like you feel really hungry, like then you'll know what the difference is between emotional hunger, because I feel like, should I need to eat something, versus actual your body's like, I need something. You know the difference. And so you have to be careful if you are using fasting to really have significant weight loss.
And let's talk about that, because I think that's like one of people's biggest fears about doing fasting, or their biggest concerns about doing fasting is, I'm going to be so hungry. And then I'm going to be so hungry that when I actually eat, I'm going to go overboard and negate everything that I've done.
Yep.
And so I think what's really important is that your hunger, it goes in waves, right? Yep. And I think we've all experienced this. So like even if you haven't fasted before, you've experienced this, right? Say like you accidentally skip a meal, or you're late for work. So all you just have to get to work. You don't have time for breakfast. You just get there and you're hungry, and you maybe have a coffee. And then you get busy doing work, and then like eventually that hunger just goes away. Yeah. Well, why does it just go away? Well, it's because it's hormonal, and it goes in waves. And so that's
and in terms of it going in waves, it goes in waves in what your body is used to eating,
what you've conditioned your body to do.
If you just try and think of, when am I usually hungry? Well, it's usually the time I have breakfast, or the time I have lunch, and the time I have supper, or whatever. If you eat 5 times a day, maybe you'll get hungry because your body is accustomed to it. So your body's like, okay, well, I should have food now. So let's start the digestive process or whatever. And that's, I guess, maybe what caused your stomach to growl. I don't know. Is because it's trying to digest. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point is that it comes and goes in what you're used to. And for me, when I started fasting, that's like breakfast. I'd be like super hungry, and then it would pass. And then lunchtime, get super hungry, and then it would pass. And supper time, and then it would pass. And then it just becomes less and less and less until it becomes your new norm.
What's really interesting is they've done studies to show that as you implement fasting, your like you can see the waves of the hormone being released, and it goes down and then it goes up and it goes down. But as you're fasting, it kind of it shifts. So you change your conditioning of your body of when it's hungry. And then not only that, but then those peaks become much smaller.
Not as high.
Yeah. And especially with women, especially with cravings, they've shown that it really starts to decrease it. So fasting actually really, it improves it. And I found the same for myself. Like usually I eat around noon. That's when I break my fast. And I'm usually hungry like 11, but it's not crazy. Like it's manageable. And it's just like, I'm usually busy. And I think that's the thing, is having some like methods like techniques, like to not think
busy.
about, to keep busy. So
and honestly, if you're just at work, then just work.
Just work. Yeah. And like I'm here with the kids,
sucks, but
our school happens in the morning. So we're doing school. I don't have time to sit down and make myself a big meal.
Yeah.
So it's just, you keep busy, or you drink water or coffee or tea, or just, because sometimes that helps too, right? If you just, at least if you're putting something in your mouth, then as long as it's just,
just find out what works for you. If it's something that you want to try, and just know that over time it'll get better and it'll get easier.
Yeah.
It just really does. And if you're starting out, you usually have breakfast at 9, we'll push it to 10.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a little bit.
Or push it 15 minutes every single day.
Your poppy just fell.
Or something. Oh, did it? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
see, that's how they get lost. I'm telling you.
Just throw it somewhere.
It drives me nuts.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to stick this needle through this electrical cable.
Please don't.
Don't want to do that. So it's one thing that I think we should talk about, is we talked about what happens to your metabolism when you're constantly eating, and when you restrict or not when you're constantly eating, but when you restrict your calories because you're constantly eating, your metabolism ends up going down because it tries to accommodate itself from this new, basically, way of living that it's seeming that your body's going to have. So now a question that I've gotten from people is that like, oh, well, you're not eating. Well, that's just going to slow down your metabolism like even more or whatever. So let's talk about what actually happens to your metabolism when you do fast.
I don't know specifically.
Okay. Well, I mean, we know
it doesn't.
Okay.
I think we just kind of like. Are you talking about like it doesn't slow down?
Well,
like it slows down when you restrict your calories.
So what studies have shown is that when you do fast, you would think that your metabolism would go down because your body wants to keep into survival mode or what have you, but it's actually the opposite happens. So your metabolism.
I don't know that it increases. I haven't read anything to suggest that.
It's not that. It's the opposite in that it's not going to go down. It's going to stay the same, or it's going to go. They've shown that it, like, I don't know if statistically significant or whatever, but the point is it's not decreasing.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. That's the point.
It's either staying the same, or for some people it goes up. Because if you want to think about it in the hunter-gatherer sense of humans and how we evolved, is that imagine that you have to forage for food, or that you have to go hunting for food or whatever, and your food is not readily available. Yeah. So when you have a meal, you pack it up, you pack in the food or whatever you eat, whatever you hunted and you've killed and you've eaten it. So you store all that energy, and then you have to go on the hunt again. Maybe you got to walk kilometers and kilometers and try to forage and hunt or whatever. So you can go days and days without getting food. And like, imagine if your metabolism slowed all the way down so that you'd be sluggish and you couldn't exercise or whatever, or that you couldn't have that energy to be able to pounce on your next hunt and your next kill. You need to keep your whole body aware and alert. And that's why when you have people that are fasting, you'll hear them say that they feel a whole lot more clear. They're more focused. They're just more engaged and they're sharper, and they feel like their senses are just at a heightened state. Is because your body kind of ramps things up, because it's like, we have to make sure that we get that food.
I think that's a different question. That's not really metabolism.
It's part of it though.
Okay, maybe. But the big part is that's about hormones.
Okay.
So the big thing is you're going to have like growth hormones that are going to be released, and that growth hormone, because I think
I know what you're saying.
The big thing is people are well, I'll get into that later. So, but even like adrenaline and norepinephrine, that's released when you're fasting, because it does keep you alert. And people do.
Okay, no, fair enough.
And people do have
it all in together.
Yeah, and people do have that like mental clarity when they're fasting, and a lot of people will fast before they do something to get that mental clarity. And even you hear it. Dr. Jason Fung talks about it in his book there, but you even hear it in the way we talk, like. we're hungry for change, and like those kind of things, right? We're like all of those kind of sayings that we have. And then people talk about being in a food coma after Thanksgiving, right? So then how can you use those terms, but then you're saying, oh, well, you're going to be so sluggish and everything. And it's true, you're not, because evolutionary, we couldn't. We had to be.
That's not what happens when you don't eat. You don't just slow down and wither away and die.
Yeah, because
right?
And that's but like what's released when like the hunter and gatherers, when they would go on a hunt, that would be more adrenaline. That would like get them going.
Well, so that's fair enough. But I guess the point
because it's not only about like being able to expend the energy to go on a hunt and do those things. It's also they had to have the mental acuity as well to coordinate the hunt as well. So it's not just the energy physically, but it's the energy mentally that they also would have had to have.
For sure. And I guess the point is, because the thing is you wouldn't, if your metabolism is super slow and you're just not burning any energy, you're not going to be able to do all these things.
No.
And you're not going to survive. So that's the bottom line of the point I want to get across is that if you're fasting, don't think and don't worry about, oh, my metabolism is going to slow down.
No, it's not going to
happen. If anything, it's going to go up or stay the same. Yeah. I mean, the only way you can know for sure is if you actually test what your metabolic rate is or whatever. So go ahead and pay that money if you want to. But
it's not.
I think I've been fasting now like one meal a day for like the past couple of months, and my metabolism is not slowing down. I work out hard, or I'll play racket sports or squash on the court, hockey on a fasted state, and there's no problems. In fact, I feel like great out there. Like I can perform really, really well. So
it's the same thing. I think like I had mentioned too, like I was really afraid to do like a hardcore run. Like, and
like, what if I faint on the treadmill or something like that? Right?
Like I'm going to feel shitty because I won't have enough energy. And I was like, just go. If you feel shitty, then just stop. And like I've done like some really awesome runs, like, and not just, one speed, but like I'll do interval sprints, and that's with no problem. And I think that's the big thing that people are scared about. But then if you feel like shit, then just stop.
I was just going to say,
it's pretty common sense.
Yeah. There's a happy medium too, right? Like I'm not saying you can fast for 7 days and then go for a crazy run. No. Or like,
of course not.
You do the world record for bench press or whatever it is, right? Like, no, because your body's like, it's not gonna happen. So there's a happy medium there, and you got to figure that out from yourself, from what works for you.
I think the other thing too is
light activity, like people that say, people that like fast for like months. They're still walking. They're still doing, because they're still moving. Of course you can still move. Right? It's not like people that do that are just laying in bed doing nothing. Like, no, you're always moving. You're always active.
The one thing I will say is that if you are just starting out and you are just starting to fast and you're working out, you may feel a little not great, like not as great as you're kind of used to. And the only reason would be because you're getting used to something new and your body is having to change from one kind of type of metabolism to another. So there may be an adjustment period. I didn't go through that. Like, I think because I started out so slow,
how I did it. But if you could end up feeling really bad.
If you're like right away into like a 24-hour fast and you go and work out, then you're probably not going to feel good like if you've never done it before.
Like on hour 22 or 23. And like
lift, and especially if that's like the first time you've ever fasted, then of course.
Mixed in with the first time you've been working out a long time. Like just working out alone, and like if you're pushing yourself hard to the max, like it's hard, and it's not the most pleasant thing. I mean, I love working out, and you feel great after. But I mean, so a lot of people, it's still hard. It's still sometimes like, I don't want to go or whatever.
It's a grind,
It's so it can feel shitty, regardless of what you're doing. So so just be aware of that. Okay, so we touched on the mechanism of fasting and kind of how that regulates your fat and your energy and all that kind of stuff. What else do we want to talk about?
So a big one. So when I kind of first started out, really getting into fitness, and reading through about like the eat clean diet and like the, eating every 3 to 4 hours. The big reason was because, well, you need to give your muscles fuel to burn. Like your body's a furnace and you need to burn. And so if you don't eat, then your body's you're gonna enter starvation mode.
Right.
You're gonna lose muscle.
You gotta put the wood on the fire. As soon as you wake up, you gotta get it going. You gotta heat it up or whatever.
And if you don't, you're gonna lose muscle and your body's just gonna make all this fat. Well, it's just 100% not true. And
that's like if you don't eat, like your body's gonna immediately start breaking down your muscle. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes. And so this is completely not true. And your body is so smart. It's not going to do this. And we won't even talk about hormones. We'll just talk about basic math. So for 1 gram of carbohydrates or protein, you're going to get 4 kilocalories.
Okay.
If you have 1 gram of fat, that's going to give you 9 kilocalories, double what that is. So almost what double, do you think your body is going to use? Your muscle or fat?
In terms of the best bang
In terms of the best bang for the buck. Well, obviously it's going to go after your fat. Yep. Your body's not stupid. And that's the whole point of fat.
Yep.
Is it's to use up for
I was just going to say, if you don't like the math, if that doesn't convince you or whatever, just think about what the function of these things are. What is the purpose of fat?
Yes.
Go ahead. Think about it. I'll wait for the answer. What is the purpose of muscle?
Yeah. They're 2 different functions.
2 completely different things. Now, if you've thought about the purpose of fat is a storage of energy, then what do you think your body is going to use when it doesn't have energy and it needs to get at it?
Yeah.
Is it going to go to the storage, or is it going to break? Like, what's the purpose of muscle, right? Well, it's to perform movements, body movements, to move you around, to go running, to be able to forage for food, to
breathe.
So
for your heart to pump its blood. Like,
is it going? Yeah. Is your body going to start chewing down on that muscle? Like, look at this heart muscle tissue. I'm just going to eat that first because there's nothing. No. It's going to burn your fat.
So not only that, like, that's obviously the simplest answer we could possibly give, but added on to this, your body has another mechanism called growth hormone that it releases when you're in a fasted state that says, hey, dummy, don't go after this muscle, go after the fat. And so it protects your muscle. So it's another kind of layer of protection.
So what is growth hormone actually? Can you talk about that function? Because I actually have questions about that for you, because
that's a deeper dive I would have to get into.
Yeah, because it is a question, because it's like, are you more prone to building muscle in a fasted state? Like,
yes.
Because that's what I've heard. It's like, say you're eating once a day or whatever. So you go almost 24 hours, you haven't eaten. So your body's filling up with this growth hormone.
Yeah.
You go to the gym, you lift the weights hard, whatever it is you want to do. And then you come back and then you eat.
Yeah.
And then
that's the best thing to do.
I think that's what the best is, because you're full of growth hormones, and then you have all those carbs, I don't know, whatever it is, the glucose that your body and your muscles need.
Your muscles
to rebuild
at that point, your muscles are so primed to take in, they can even take in extra carbohydrates. Like, that's the best time to eat carbs, is like right after your workout, especially if you fasted
like wide
before.
Open or whatever, because they've just been pulled to their limits.
I have seen studies showing that like growth hormone increases, like it's like even like 200% increase in growth hormone while you're fasting. It's huge. It's like kind of shocking.
It's
actually.
It's like a natural steroid shot almost.
Yeah.
Almost, but not really. Steroids is crazy.
Yeah. So that's a huge benefit. It's not even just to lose weight, but you can definitely build some good muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll definitely be putting that to the test as we get more and more into to building muscles ourselves. And we'll talk about that maybe in a week or two. What's going to happen with that, which is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that. But okay, so that's it's also fascinating how everything is just all interconnected.
Yeah.
And
okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, let's play. Can we play like the devil's advocate? Or is there anything that we could say is like, what are the negatives of fasting? Like what, or you know what I mean? Like, say like we got someone like, the fasting is complete bullshit, blah blah blah. Like, I don't believe this. Like, what are people saying that that's bad about it, and that
I honestly haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything, but again, that it could be confirmation bias on my part, because I really haven't looked at the other side of the coin. I find it really hard to believe that there would be anything negative about it. We haven't experienced anything negative about it. I mean, you had that one time when I just think when you started, how long of a fast was that?
Yeah, I was
going
on day 3. No, I talked about that. And I think that was my body is like, number one, not being used to it.
Yeah.
And number 2, just like, I just needed to get something because it wasn't, I don't know if I wasn't, my body wasn't getting those ketones properly or whatever it was when I'd been so long. So, but I was just really hungry, and then I ate and I felt fine.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I was saying. That's the difference between, when you're really hungry.
Yeah.
Versus
and when it's
like,
when I feel sad, I want to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I honestly, like, I can't think of any because even like in our daily life now, like I find it easy. I'm not worrying about, oh, I gotta make my breakfast. I have to eat before we start school with the kids. Like in terms of like time management, we're not worrying about all these meals. We're saving money because we're eating less.
I literally roll out of bed and like,
yeah,
just get out the door.
Yeah.
It's like,
well,
it's
and
very,
even
very
like,
quick.
it's funny,
so
like
nice.
it's funny too. Cause like I'll have dinner and I'm just like, oh, this is taking up so much time. I have other things that I want to do. And it's like, oh, should I maybe just like try a 24-hour fast and see how it goes? But because it's like, oh, I have so many things that need to get done, but then you need to stop and make the meal and eat the meal. And
sometimes cooking is fun, but for the most part, it's just a chore. It's a time sink.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like even like those little things have been helpful.
Yeah, those are other benefits that have nothing to do with I mean, the money savings and the time savings are huge. Yeah. Right. So
well, and even
if anything, you want to save some money.
You know, go on a fast. Well, and I think the other kind of cool thing too that I really love about fasting is I did think of one thing that I'll touch on in a minute.
Okay.
The other really cool thing about fasting is like, say, like, so for instance, when my parents came to stay with us, they were amazing and were like, go out, have dinner. And so because we knew we were going to like totally pig out at dinner.
Yeah. Which we didn't really actually.
Yeah. Well, I did.
I don't think so. You had it.
I was pretty full.
Yeah.
But the point was we just didn't eat that whole day because we knew we were going to eat a bunch and we knew, okay, let's just enjoy it and not worry about what we're eating because we haven't eaten all day. So then this is like our fun part. Yeah. I had all the lobster I wanted and but the thing, pasta.
That's another thing too is in terms of how could people talk about, oh, you know, you're going to overeat or whatever. But the thing is, if you eat once a day, it's like you can't. It's like you eat till you're physically, your stomach can't have anymore. Like, of course, if you're eating really bad food, you could really go over your calories and put on extra, which is not good. But for the most part, if you're eating lots of vegetables and if you want to have meat, sure, go ahead. But if you're having lots of whole natural foods, you're going to be full long before you're going to like eat too many calories.
Well, no, and I think this is like if we're talking about how to implement a fast, and like I know a lot of people would have questions about how do I break a fast, like what's the best thing to have, and going back to like worrying that you'll blow it when it is time to eat. I think that's the best advice ever is break your fast with whole foods. Don't have any processed shit, because the thing is processing, it takes out all the fiber and it takes out all the good fats. And the fiber and the good fats are what make you feel full and make you feel satiated. So if you have these whole foods and you're eating that to break your fast, like I'll have a smoothie with an avocado and spinach and blueberries, and it's huge. And I don't feel crazy hungry afterwards. I don't feel like blowing it because at least I know I have my health. And if I want to have a little treat later on, well, it's not a big deal.
I'll say the whole concept of how to break a fast, I think that's really in depth. And I don't think we should get into it because I think it really depends on how long you've been fasting, right?
Yeah.
To break your fast, if you're on like a 16-8 split where you have a 16-hour window where you don't eat an 8-hour window, I wouldn't even worry about it. Like, don't be like, oh, well, you know, just go slow and then maybe have one little, you know, have a little piece of broccoli and then wait half an hour and then, you know, so just, you can go ahead and have a full meal even like, so, but if you have been fasting for a week, you don't want to fast for a week and then just sit down and have a pizza, right? Because you're going to kill it because your body's not even used to digest. And that's why they'll say, if you haven't even eaten any solid foods for a while, don't go right ahead and start eating some complex steak and potatoes, right? Have a watermelon, right? Start slow and then start building up. So there's all kinds of different things about breaking a fast depending on how long you're fasting. But if you're just a beginner and you're not going to be fasting for any more than 24 hours, you're okay to sit down and have your regular meal. But of course, you want to make it healthy or whatever. And you're fine. You're not going to have any crazy digestive issues.
No, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think like having like something that has definitely fruits and vegetables, like a salad or a smoothie. And that's it. But I think by breaking your fast that way first, I think it's
for sure.
It's really important. So the one thing, just to come back, that I have read about,
and we will say some of the negatives that I have heard are, of course, like your metabolism is going to slow down. You're going to feel hungry all the time. Your body's going to eat your muscle. So those are the things that you hear.
The big concerns
of, well, this is bullshit because of this.
And it's pretty easy to show
that It's not true.
And people say that they just don't know the science.
Yeah.
That's what
and
it
it's
is.
just like, well, we eat 3 meals a day. So that's just how it's supposed to be because that's how we've always done it.
Yeah. But I will say, I think the one thing that maybe fasting might not be the best for is people that do have eating disorders. That was one thing. However, having had eating disorders myself, this is actually the best way I've found to eat. And I'm having the best relationship with food I think I've ever had in my life. So
yeah, and I think it depends on the type of eating disorder you have too, right?
Well,
if you have an eating disorder because you eat too much, then fasting is perfect because that'll solve the problem right there, right?
Yeah.
If you have an eating disorder of not eating at all or purging, whatever the hell, then I don't know. You know what? I can't speak for eating disorders because I don't.
Well, that's what I'm. And that's what I'm saying. Like, as it really depends on your psychology and
why you have it
and why you have had an eating disorder. But for me, having had an eating disorder, I found it actually very, very helpful. But again, you have to figure it out and know yourself and know the moment that you're starting to have disordered eating again, then you need to figure out something and maybe talk to a professional. I don't know.
We should,
professionals.
Fuck.
But anyways,
you're right. I never recommend professionals because they're.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's the big.
We should talk about that one time.
Yeah, one time. Yeah, for sure. We can talk about it when I'm ready.
That's important. I think that's one thing. I guess in life in general, maybe it's just more of a Canadian thing, or I don't know, or a North American thing. But people don't talk about issues and problems that are
common.
Yeah, that are common, like mental illness, right? Like people are starting to talk about it now, but like if you're, like even here's an example of things that are uncomfortable, right? Like finances.
Yep.
No one talks about finances. But why? Everyone needs to worry about that shit. Like everybody, but can't even talk about how much money you make. Like, really?
Well,
you know what I mean? It's just weird. So it's like things that are taboo. No one talks about.
Yeah. Miscarriage is another big one.
Miscarriage. Don't talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many things. And eating disorders.
Yeah.
Or what you're feeling in life. Like stuff about your job and not liking your work.
Yeah.
If people would talk about it, be like, oh yeah, me too. Yeah, I have that problem too. Yeah. And you find ways to maybe more come together as opposed to like trying to shove everyone apart.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
It's just
a lot of reasons.
It's interesting. But I think it's, I don't know, like everyone's got to try to think that they have to present themselves in a certain way. And
social media certainly doesn't help.
But it's social media, and even within families too, sometimes it's like you get together and it's like, everything's all good. But like inside, like everyone's like, oh, this is insane because this person doesn't talk to that person about whatever happened 5 years ago and it's all coming in and whatever. Yeah. It's like everyone's got that, the crazy whatever, right? The crazy uncle that no one wants to talk about, and but you just know not to leave your kids alone with, like
Jesus.
I don't. Yeah, it's just it's fascinating, and I know we've had our own personal discussions where I want to talk about more things. Not between us, we talk about everything. So, but I just mean publicly, like on here. I'm like, well, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this because we've had these experiences, and I don't want anybody to go through it again or whatever, right? Yeah. So, and it's like a balancing out. It's like, well, privacy and whatever. Yeah. It's like, number one, Google knows everything we have anyways. Like,
obviously.
If you think like,
no, I know.
You know what I mean, right?
For sure.
So, and like the thing that happened with our trailer, right? It's like, get the story out there because hopefully nobody else makes that mistake, like, you could sit there and be embarrassed about it and whatever, shake it off. But it's like, if the message of don't ever buy a trailer without getting it certified first and knowing what you're doing and having someone to go with you to know that it's a good deal and you're not going to get ripped off, do that. Well, if that could save one person from who might be considering doing something like that, worth it, because
and I think too is like telling that story too and about like how we recovered from it. I think that's important too, right? Like that's the point of telling, but that's the point of telling a story like that, I think. And like, same with like, when I do decide to talk about the whole eating disorder thing, like
next week, what are you doing next week?
How I overcame it and how you overcome things. So, and
then, you know what? Someone's going to listen. Like, I know exactly what you feel. I can relate to that.
Yep.
And then, sorry, I'm not saying you're role model to all these kids, but it's like, that's, people need to relate to somebody, right?
For sure.
Better to relate to someone who's real as opposed to I don't know. I always want to think of like, oh, that guy was like a Marky Mark. So
you have to do that. Old.
But I'm old school. Yeah. But or whatever, Kardashian or whatever, right? It's like, I can't relate to these people, right? Because it's so
they're fake.
Whatever. Anyways, back to fasting. I guess I think that's what we were talking about, right?
The one thing I did want to touch on, because this is fascinating me so much, is obviously we talked about how fasting can basically cure type 2 diabetes. We talked about that
in like a very short period of time too.
Super short. Yep. It's amazing. So, and also heart disease. It can help with heart disease and cardiovascular disease and all those things because fasting.
Yeah. Well, I've heard lots of people talking about how it cures like STDs and like herpes and stuff. It's just like, just like, well, I just fast and you just starve everything else out too, right? Yeah. And then there's the whole autophagy thing. Is that what you're going to talk about?
That's what I'm talking about because I'm so freaking excited about this. And
it's the buzzword of the day.
It's my big thing.
I hate buzzwords too. So that's why I'm always a little bit cautious. And it's like this,
But anyways, this is like, it's still like, there's still lots of research going on because it's actually fairly new that they discovered that our cells do this. But basically what autophagy is, auto is the Latin for self and phagy is Latin for eating. So self-eating. Mm-hmm. So basically what it is, it's like survival of the fittest for your cells.
Yep.
So if there's no nutrients around, and that's the whole point of it, is there can't be any nutrients around, then your cells either eat themselves, like the cells get degraded, the bad cells get degraded, or they
just get broken down to
cellular
reuse
parts
the pieces for
energy and other things. And so that, or old cellular parts. So think about it as like, I wrote a blog post, which I'll link to in the show notes, but it's like a home makeover. Remember that Home Extreme Makeover?
I don't know.
You don't watch those shows? It was so good. There was Extreme Makeover where they would, at the end, it just got to the point where they were just bulldozing the house and kind of building a new one.
Sure.
But that's basically what happens.
You reuse the pieces too.
Yeah. And that's like basically what happens with autophagy. And the really cool thing, I'll use myself as an example for what I've noticed. And I don't know if this is autophagy at work or what it is, but
it's placebo, clearly.
Well, and it isn't because I didn't even think about it as fasting helping it. So I have fibrocystic breasts, and this started kind of about 2 years ago. And so every time I would be about like maybe a week before my period, I would have a lump, and it would just it would come and go, and it would change sides and change size, not sides. And what's going on?
Literally in different places.
And so like I had it like ultrasound and like everything was fine. It was just something I have to deal with. But as we did this fasting over the summer, it got small. Each month it got smaller to the point where now I don't get it anymore.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's, who knows what it is, but that would be.
Well, whatever. It's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. But
what's changed? What's changed,
exactly.
Right? So yeah, I mean, this type of thing, it's not scientific, it's anecdotal.
Anecdotal.
Anecdotal. So it's anecdotal.
Yeah.
But it's what happened,
It's
right?
what happened. And so my guess would, if I had to make an educated guess, I would say it would have something to do with autophagy, with using those cellular parts that are old, they're not functioning properly. It's not, so it would get, And so what's really interesting is there's a lot of implications for Alzheimer's disease because obviously you have these beta amyloid plaques that are misfolded proteins that are in your brain.
Yep.
And so what happens is autophagy breaks those plaques down.
Yep.
And so you can decrease your chances of Alzheimer's.
So and you could start talking about cancer as well too. In terms of reducing the chance of cancer, because cancer, I mean, the really rogue cells or whatever it is that have gone bad. Yep. So if you start fasting and then all of a sudden your body is kind of on that hunt for where's the weakest things that where can I get this energy from?
Where's the energy or the point is too is where's the energy suck? What's taking up energy that I don't need, that's broken? Exactly. Like let's get it out. Yeah.
And I think cancer takes up a whole lot of energy to divide rapidly or whatever it does, right? So anyways, so it's like hunt, seek, and destroy or what have you.
Exactly.
And it's all this huge, your body is this wonderful thing of all these chemical processes going on all over the place. And we're just starting to learn about them. There's so many other things.
Yeah.
We've got microbiome, so many other things that we can talk about that we are just trying to understand. And and if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, we can't say anything for sure, but it just makes sense that, yeah, if you're going through this period where your body's kind of starving for food or energy in a way, not starving for energy, but it's like it needs to figure out where it is because you're not shoving your face full of pizza or whatever all the time, where it's just there for you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, let's find the most efficient ways to clean up our body, make sure we're not wasting, it's like tune up. It's just constantly tuning up your body. And it's just, it makes sense. And as the research is coming out, they're showing that it's just another benefit.
Well, and I think really what's really interesting too is even in cancer treatment, a lot of studies now are coming out showing the benefits of fasting. Dr. Walter Longo, he's a huge guy for longevity. And so he has what's called the fasting mimicking diet. And so they fast, but then they have like, I don't know, it's like maybe 400 calories and they only do it like each month or kind of thing. It's a weird protocol.
Yeah.
But anyways, what they're showing is when people are fasting and then if they fast before they have chemotherapy treatment, what happens is that chemotherapy is more effective.
Yeah.
And it's more effective and it doesn't affect your good cells
as much.
And so people, if they have fasted, they don't have as crazy of side effects. So like even like the nausea and the vomiting, it's lessened in people that have fasted before chemotherapy.
And how much fasting?
I'm not sure. But the whole point is like, it's not only is it helping treat the cancer, but it's like decreasing the side effects from the chemotherapy or radiation. Like that's huge.
Yeah, it's crazy. Has there been any studies out there about like, I guess I don't know if there would be because it's like putting people's lives at risk or whatever, but just like straight fasting for like trying to reverse cancer?
I don't know. I haven't.
Because that's like, okay, well, here we're going to treat you with chemo and here we're going to treat you by, you're just not going to eat.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know if you could do that kind of study, right? Maybe on rats or whatever, which, but I wonder.
Ethically, they couldn't do that on humans.
Yeah. But aren't there's like retreats and stuff out there that are like, oh, well, you're going to go on, you got cancer, come to us, we're going to drink you green juice and all that kind of stuff, which I think, you know what I mean? You've heard of that stuff too, right?
Course.
So it's like,
I don't know. I think it depends on the type of cancer too, right? Because then the other side of the coin with autophagy is you can have too much autophagy. Like you can, it's like it's a fine balance with anything in life, right? It's you can have too much of a good thing.
Sure.
And it has shown that sometimes too much autophagy can like be good for the cancer cells.
Yeah. And it's tough because I mean, at the same time too, you got to think it's like, people can't live forever too, right? It's not like you can come up with something. It's like, oh, just eat or fast or whatever. I'm just going to live forever. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Sometime it's just going to have to go in the ground.
But I think it's like how you go in the ground. That's what it's about, right?
And like how you can maximize
what's your quality of life,
your good times, as opposed to minimize the bad times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's crazy. There's so much. Yeah, there's so much to learn, but it's fascinating where they are with this whole autophagy thing. And
well, I have so much that I still want to do. Like I would love if we could just do like a in-depth podcast on autophagy.
Sure. I mean, I know literally nothing about it except for what we just talked about. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah. But that's why I don't know. For me, it's just really exciting because there's so much potential for treatments and prevention of disease and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's the thing. I think from all the things that you've said and things that we've read is that fasting can be at least a good tool to at least help prevent you or like minimizing your chances. Oh, it's like, well, what's cancer and all these things? It's like, I mean, you constantly have free radicals or you have inflammation, all this kind of stuff that's in your body that you'll constantly having to deal with until I guess at some point it's just too much or whatever. Then it's like, it just triggers. But if you could reduce that and you can reduce that by fasting and not having so much inflammation, not having so many free radicals or whatever, then that's helpful. That minimizes your chance. I'm not saying you're not going to get it. I mean, no one's saying it's just fast and you'll not die. Like no one's even coming close to saying that.
Not, but
if it could lower your chances, then that's good.
Free
that's what you want,
easy,
right? And science is showing that it can help. So might as well.
Yeah.
I guess what is that? No, 15%. It's just
your battery.
Just the battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that's fasting. That's why we're doing it and we're going to continue to do it.
Yep.
And it's just, I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. And again, it's not for any specific purpose. Like I know personally, I still want to burn fat, but I'm not in as dire need as I was when I was 210 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
No, 260. Oh, no, I'm 260. I don't know. And I'm 160, right? So it's like 50 pounds down. So,
well, and even for me, like I don't want to lose any more weight, but I'm still fasting just because.
Yeah, and there's always that distinction. I don't want to lose any more weight or any more fat, right? So like maybe there's some places you want to
recomposition.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's like, if you weigh 20 pounds more, that's fine as long as it's all muscle,
all muscle, right? Yeah, of course.
But so let's be careful with that. So I still have fat that I want to lose, but my weight, at the end of the day, we don't care what the scale says, because it's not about the scale; it's about how you feel.
Yeah,
and
but I think like that's like I like the lifestyle. I just like how it fits in with our lifestyle, right?
Simplicity is probably the best thing for me. I don't have to worry about breakfast. I don't have to worry about lunch.
Well, and I think too, like in terms of like, we didn't touch on this, but we've talked about it. That in terms of like how simple and easy it is, you're not having to buy like a diet book and then follow this crazy diet and then cook how maybe you wouldn't typically cook with ingredients that you have to
figure out. You got to buy,
out and go to like a special place to get them. Like it's nothing like that. It's so simple and easy. There's no guesswork. You just don't fucking eat. Like it's so easy.
And when you do eat, you just start eating the same stuff you have now, right? Like I guarantee you, if you eat unhealthy and you fast and still maintain the same eating, you're going to eat so much less, and you're going to start getting back. You're going to start burning fat.
Yeah,
it's just going to happen.
Yeah,
it's not a good way to go, but I'm just saying, right?
No,
instead of having McDonald's three meals a week, you're only having it once. Or 3 meals a day, you're only having it once.
Just have it one time.
So that's much better.
Yeah.
Anyways, whatever. I'm like, whatever. Do it or don't. I don't know. What are you talking about? Hey, do whatever do what works for you.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I think, I don't know, that's a pretty good introduction, I think, to fasting. So if you're wanting to start, I mean, I think you have everything you need to go at it, to get it done.
Yep, definitely. I think and I think if people are more interested in learning a bit more about it and getting,
if you would like to know more,
even more sciencey, like I said, I'll have a blog post that I'll link, that I'll put up, but also Dr. Jason Fung's The Complete Guide to Fasting.
Yeah, it's a good book.
That book is so good.
Yep.
And even listen to him on YouTube. Like there's one really good talk he gave that's not too sciencey. And he's really funny too. Like he's really funny. But I'll put a link to those videos.
He
uses great analogies. Yep. Yeah. So and just it's really good. It's in depth, and he has some recipes in there too, but I wouldn't use them. They look boring, but I'm just saying, like it's in there to show you what to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, you're here. You're still here. Maybe. Listening.
My mom is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, Mom.
You just fast forward to the end. I don't buy it. Just easily do that. Well, thank you so much for listening.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Nut Up Show. It was lots of fun. It was
as always.
Fun talking to you.
Yes, always.
Learning some things, I guess, along the way.
Happy Remembrance Day.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think you say happy.
I don't think
I don't know. What do you say?
Yeah, what do you say? Don't say. Just whatever.
Anyways.
So.
Chris, by 5. Just hold on.
Okay.
I'm too far. I can't reach. You got to reach further.
Yeah, you didn't move.
Yeah.
Let you do all the work.
I can't.
I'll just lay back and let you do all the work. Take from that what you will. All right.
All right.
Have a good one. Enjoy the week.
Bye.
Happy fasting.
Happy fasting.
See you next time.
Bye.